Welcome to my channel. My name is Matt, but you can call me the Questioning Accountant. If you're wondering what that name means, let me explain. I try to be a very skeptical person, so I do my best to question everything. And also, I'm an accountant. I have a degree in accounting and I've passed the CPA exam, which is sort of like the bar for accountants. So now you may be wondering what I mean by questioning everything. Well, I don't literally mean everything all the time, but I do think we should question not just the things we disagree with, but also the things we agree with. It's easy to say, wait, I don't agree with that, something must be wrong. But it's much harder to say, this new information confirms what I already believe, so I better make sure it's true before I believe it. But while this might help us avoid confirmation bias, doing this every time we come across new information would be extremely time consuming. However, we don't need to question every piece of new information. Instead, we could look at how we came to believe that information. Did I make it up, or did I hear about it, or did I read it somewhere? If so, how likely is the source to be correct? Or rather, how did they come up with the information? And of course, we already do this even when you're thinking about it. When we question the validity of someone's source, we aren't just saying the information isn't reliable, we're saying the way in which the person acquired knowledge is also unreliable. And furthermore, probably also saying the way in which the source obtained information is unreliable. The hard part, I think, is not just questioning other people's methods of acquiring new information, but also questioning our own. I know a lot of people that believe in evolution, but don't really understand it. And in a way, I guess I don't really either. Certainly not entirely. The immense amount of time required for evolution seems incomprehensible, but the limitations of my brain are not good enough reason to disbelieve something. And of course, I do believe in evolution. I've seen transitional fossils at museums. I've read Darwin's On the Origin of Species. I took biology in high school and college. But many people I know have not. They mostly seem to just believe because of the consensus among scientists. And while an overwhelmingly vast consensus by scientists would likely exist for true claims, it's still possible for all scientists to be wrong. And the only way to know for sure is to examine the data for yourself. But of course, most of us don't have time to evaluate every claim, which is why it's important that our sources have a reliable way of collecting information. And the best method we have is science. This doesn't mean science knows everything or is always right. Science won't bring us absolute certainty all the time, but we can have a fairly high degree of certainty for the claims made by science. And the reason is that others in the scientific community will have incentive to disprove these claims. So if someone's just making stuff up, it won't take long for that misinformation to be disproven. So it's not that consensus of the scientists that we should be satisfied with, but the consensus of the data. However, the consensus of the data in this case is why we have a consensus among scientists. For many people, much of the time, this is good enough for them. The truth of evolution doesn't impact their day-to-day lives all that much. What am I going to eat for breakfast? Where did I leave my car keys? Do I need coffee? None of these questions require knowing that evolution is true to answer them. I think one of the best ways to change people's minds on something is to get them to question why they believe it to begin with. And you may be asking, why try and change anyone's mind at all? Who cares what other people believe? Why not just leave everyone alone and everyone can just get along? The reason is that belief impacts our behavior. If every morning you believed that you were at the top of a tower with no floor beside your bed, you probably would be afraid to get up. You might even end up staying in bed all day. But if every morning you wake up believing you're in your own bed and that the floor is almost certainly still there, since anything capable of removing it would probably have been loud enough to wake you from your sleep, then you'll probably be able to get up without fear of falling to your death. Now maybe you're thinking, so what? I don't want to change anyone's mind because I want people to leave me alone and not change my mind. Well, that's fine. I'm not saying anyone else needs to do this. I'm not even sure trying to change people's minds is a good goal. It seems to me that a better goal would be to try and learn from other people's ways of thinking and try and find flaws in our own thinking, and then correct those flaws. Leading by example may also help others be more open and honest with how they form their own beliefs as well. But again, no one needs to do this if they don't want to. If your preferred method of dealing with those you don't agree with is debating the facts or mocking people, I certainly won't stop you. Penn Jillette once said something along the lines of, if you're an asshole, just be an asshole. That's not an exact quote. It's from his podcast, Penn Sunday School. I don't remember the exact episode, but the point is, just be yourself and do whatever works for you. Going into a conversation with certain tactics or goals is fine, but sometimes it's better just to be authentic. For me personally, I want to believe in true things. I think science is the best tool we have for figuring out the world, but we all have a limited amount of time on this earth, so we don't have time to test every claim. I think the best thing to do is question our own methods of acquiring information and discuss things with people we don't agree with and actually ask ourselves, how might I be wrong? And if I am wrong, trying to learn from my mistakes and asking myself, where did my thinking go wrong? But this is no easy task. It's hard to talk civilly with people who passionately disagree with us, especially when we're passionate about it ourselves. And it can be hard to admit when we're wrong. That's why I think it's important to lead by example. If we show a willingness to admit our mistakes and change our minds when we're wrong, it may become easier for others to do that as well. And by focusing on why we believe things and not just what we believe, we can potentially stop similar beliefs from forming in the future. But again, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. These are just my goals for how I want to operate. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. I want to keep making videos like this, but I'm going to need a bigger audience if it's going to be worth my time. So if you have the ability to do so, please share this video, and thanks for watching.